Good morning, dear students. Welcome back to the class. Hope you all are safe at home. Well, today we are going to discuss about aerial adaptations. As you know, these days we have been discussing about the various adaptations, the different habitats in which various organisms they live by adapting certain characteristic features, and these characteristic features help them to survive in proper way. Well, let's quickly revise what we have discussed in the previous session. In the previous session, we have discussed about mountain adaptation, where you have learned that in the mountains, the weather is very cold and windy, and the ground is almost covered with snow due to the low temperature. The ground on the mountains is covered with snow, and due to these conditions, it becomes very difficult for the plants to grow and also for the animals to move around the area for the food, in search of food. Then we have discussed about the polar bears. The polar bears have small ears and tail. This is an adaptation of polar bear which minimizes heat loss. Then we have also discussed other characteristics of polar bear, where you have learned that polar bears have an excellent sense of smell. This adaptation helps them to find prey. And the polar bears also have strong legs. These strong legs helps the polar bears to swim very fast through the icy water. And polar bears also has thick fur. What is the use of this fur? The fur helps it to blend into the snow, and also it helps it to stay warm. Then we have discussed about the mountain goat. The mountain goat has thick fur again. The reason is same, to keep it warm, and it has strong hooves. What is the work of these hooves? These hooves in the feet helps it to run faster, and it helps it to make it very easy for the mountain goats to walk or run up the rocky slopes, because if these hooves are not strong enough, it may slip through the rocky slopes. Then we have discussed about snow leopard. Snow leopard is white in color, and the reason why it is white in color, that is an adaptation. It helps it to hide in the environment, that is, it blends with the color of the environment. Then this mountain animal has thick fur to protect from cold, and also it has claws which help it to prevent slipping on the surface of the snow. Then we have discussed about the plants which are found on the mountains. They also have certain characteristic features which help their survival in the harsh climatic conditions. We have discussed that the plants on the mountains are usually tall, straight and cone-shaped. Cone-shaped means somewhat triangular shape. The reason why they are triangular shaped, so that the snow which falls or the rainwater, it does not collect on the leaves. Instead, it may slip down, it may drip down. Then these plants are flowerless. They bear cone instead of flowers, and the seeds are contained inside the cones. The leaves present on the plants of these areas are somewhat needle-like. This reduces loss of water, and also the leaves have waxy coating. This helps to prevent any damage from snow. Then we have discussed specially about the pine tree. The pine tree has needle-shaped leaves which prevents loss of water. Then this needle-like leaves also reduce evaporation. Then the plant has sloping branch Why do they have sloping branches? So that the snow or the water slide down. Then they grow very thin and tall due to lack of space, because their surface area is less. They need less surface area so that there is less evaporation from the surface of the plant. Then these plants bear cone and not flowers, so that the seeds remain safe in the cone. If there will be flowers, definitely there are chances that due to the harsh climatic conditions, the flower may get spoiled or destroyed. So if the flower will be destroyed, the seeds will no more. These plants, they grow thin and tall due to lack of space, and also these plants bear cone instead of flowers, and these cones, they have seeds present inside them, which saves the seed from the harsh climatic conditions. Now, by this revision of the previous session, you must have understood how do organisms adapt certain characteristics. One point is by gaining or any loss of the body organ. They lose that part of the body to adapt to a certain habitat. Then some of the organisms, they change their color to blend with the surrounding. And also there are certain modifications which are found in the organs of the body, and these modifications which are seen in the organs helps the organism to survive in the particular habitat. So today we are going to discuss about aerial adaptation, and I think you all are aware of the organism which survives in air. Yes, I'm talking about birds. Birds are well adapted to live in air. It has internal as well as external organs which are modified for aerial life. So today we will be discussing in detail about the various organs of the bird which helps it for aerial life. So let's discuss about them in detail. So the animals that are adapted for aerial mode of life, they are only called as aerial animals. Aerial animals means those living in air. The adaptational characters of the aerial animals are, their body is streamlined, as we have discussed about this point in fishes also. Fishes have streamlined body, that is, the body is tapering at both the ends. That is, tapering means pointed at both the ends. And what is the use of this streamlined body? It reduces the air resistance during flying. Air resistance means as the birds fly through the air, it helps to push the body through the air. This streamlined body shape of the birds helps it to push its body through the air when it is moving in any direction. Then the birds had 4 limbs. These 4 limbs are now modified into wings. This is an adaptation. The bones of the birds are hollow and spongy. The reason why it is hollow and spongy, the hollow bones and spongy bones makes the body of the birds light so that it can fly in the air. And also the eyes of the birds are very sharp and well developed, so that during flight they can view the different things around them. So the aerial animals are the animals which live in the air, and they are termed as aerial animals. And I suppose you are aware of the aerial animals like birds, bats, and there are many more animals. Okay, so we know that birds, they fly in the air, but do you think that there is any effort required by these birds to fly in the air? We see them flying effortlessly. Can we do so? Is it possible for human beings to fly like birds? No. How much effort we apply? We may not flap our arms the same way as the birds do. We cannot replicate the simple action made by birds. We cannot replicate to what they do because we don't have those characteristics. Birds have been flying for millions of years, and if we talk about the small chicks, we find them moving or flying just in a week or two after the egg is hatched. Totally depends upon the species of the bird. When after hatching, within few weeks, it can fly. So these birds make miraculous migrations, and other species have amazing aerobatics in their flight patterns. So aerobatic patterns means the stunts which are performed by these birds during their flight. So it is only the birds which can do so. So here you can see how different birds move in the air. That is their acrobatics shown. The different movement, the different ways they move in the air. Now let's see the characteristics of birds. We all are aware that birds have feathers all over the body, and almost all the birds have these feathers. These feathers are only helpful in flight. They have hind limbs which helps in walking, running and perching. Perching means it helps to rest. These hind limbs helps the birds to rest on something. Then what is the use of front limbs? Forelimbs. The forelimbs are not visible as forelimbs. As we have hands, it is not visible like that in the birds. Instead, these forelimbs are modified into wings. That is helpful in flight. So here are certain characteristic features of the birds which help the birds to survive in their environment. Birds have wings, and most of the birds, they can fly in the air. They have light and hollow bones, as we have discussed few minutes back, that the bones in the birds are light as well as hollow. This makes the complete body light, and that light body weight helps in flight. Then they have feet and claws to get support when they are sitting somewhere, when they are resting over a place, or when they are on the tree to catch hold of the place where they are sitting. Then these birds, they do not have teeth. Instead of teeth, what do they have? They have beak, which helps in tearing the food, which helps in biting the food, crushing the food, and then chewing their food. The body of the birds have streamlined body shape, and this streamlined body shape helps the bird to fly up in the air. Now let's talk about the different adaptive features found in the birds. The body of the birds is covered with feathers. The feathers are smooth, backwardly directed, means it is directed in backward direction, and this makes the body streamlined. And this streamlined body shape reduces friction as well. Okay, what is friction? Reduces friction means reduces the force which is acting on the body of the birds when the bird is flying. As you know, they are flying in the air. So definitely as they are moving higher, there will be friction, the force which will be acting on its body. So these feathers, they reduce the forces, the friction which is acting on the bird's body when it is flying in the air. Then feathers, they cover the complete body and makes the complete body light, and this lightweight protects from the these feathers, these protect the body of the birds from the various environmental factors and also prevents the loss of heat. Then these birds have large quill feathers on the wing and the tail, which is helpful for flight. What is quill? Quill is called the flight feathers. So these flight feathers are found on the wings, that is the forelimb which is modified into wings, and on the tails also they have these quill feathers, and these feathers are helpful in flight. Then the tail of the birds are spread. They are fan-like. The feathers are appearing. The feathers look like fan. It is very much effective steering organ. What is steering organ? Steering organ is an organ which helps the birds in moving in different directions. So this tail feathers, the tail feathers of the bird helps in steering. Then the forelimbs which is found in the birds. The forelimbs are, as we have discussed in the beginning, the forelimbs in the birds are modified into wings. These forelimbs are modified into a unique and powerful organ, and this powerful organ is called as wings. These organs consist of framework of bones. The complete forelimb is a framework of bones, and there is presence of muscles. Then the surface area of the wing is increased due to this framework of bones and muscles, and this helps in the development of elongated flight feathers, which is also called as remiges. Flight feather forms broad surface, because of which it becomes easy for the birds to fly up in the air. Then the birds have short tail. Tail bears a series of long, strong but light feathers which are arranged in fan-like manner. The tail feathers also help in flight, as we have discussed that these tail feathers help in steering, that is in changing the direction. It serves as rudder for steering during flight. Rudder means it's a controlling surface which is used or which is helpful in changing the direction. So this tail feathers, it is acting as a rudder and it helps in changing the direction for the bird during flight, during the flying. And also these birds help, these feathers helps in counterbalance in perching. When the birds are sitting on a surface, these feathers are helping to counterbalance their body, as their body is pointed at both the ends. So these feathers only help to maintain a balance when they are resting on any surface. As we have discussed that forelimbs in the birds is converted into wing. So this conversion of the forelimbs to wing is compensated by the presence of beak. They don't have teeth in their mouth. Instead, this mouth is drawn into a horny beak, and this beak is used as forceps in picking up things. As mother uses tongs for picking up chapatis. When she is making chapatis, she is using tongs for picking it up. So these birds, they have beak which acts as forceps for in picking up the things, and also this beak only helps it to build nest, which in other animals is done by their forelimbs. We have hands for doing various things. Different animals have forelimbs for performing different functions, and in birds they don't have forelimbs as such, because forelimb is already converted into wings for flight. So they do this work with the help of their beak. As you can see here in the module, all the work that is done with the help of their beak, whether it is picking up of the food, whether it is collecting the small portions or small parts of plant, or whether it is playing, that is all done with their beaks. So this is what this is all about, the aerial adaptation in birds. We have discussed that the birds have wings where forelimbs are modified into wings, and these are powerful organs of flight. We have discussed the body shape of the birds is streamlined, head is pointed in front and the narrow tail at the end, and this streamlined body shape minimizes resistance against air when the bird is flying. Then the tail feathers, they act as a balancing or steering organ. The tail helps in changing the direction during flight. So we can say that the tail acts as a rudder and as a brake to check the speed when the bird is flying. Then the body of the bird is covered with feathers. These feathers keep the body of the birds warm and also light. Feathers on the forelimbs help in flying, and feathers on the tail help in steering and rudder. Then the birds have a special type of bone. This special type of bone is called as pneumatic bone. These pneumatic bones are hollow and they have air cavities present in them. This special type of bone makes the body weight of the bird very light, and this light weight of the body helps in flight in the air. Then the beaks are present. The jaws of the birds is modified into toothless horny beak. This also helps in reducing the body weight, and beak substitutes for hands for picking up various things. Now let's discuss about the aerial plants. Well, let me tell you that aerial plants are not there. There are no aerial plants as such. It is only the seeds and the fruits of certain plants that are dispersed to distant places by air. For dispersal by air, seeds of plants show certain characteristic features. The seeds may be small, dry and light in weight, as it is found in grasses and orchids. Or the seeds of some plants have silky hair or wings, so that they can be easily carried away by the wind. As you can see in this module, this is the seed of madar. It is hairy seed, and also you can see here clearly the seed of madar have hair which allow them to be carried away easily by the wind. And I suppose most of you must have seen this seed. We play with this seed. Actually, we don't think that it is a seed. We say that it is it is a wing of some bird or something like that. But actually, it is a seed which is carried away by the wind. And also, the seeds of maple and also drumsticks, they have wings. These wings act as parachute, and help the seeds in floating in the air for longer distances. As you can see here in this module, the seed is winged. It has two wings showing the seed. The wings, it is a winged seed, and it comes in pairs with two seeds fused together. The wings hang parallel to each other and it is easily carried with the wind. So, this is about the seeds which are dispersed through air. Then we have another adaptation found in the aerial plants. These plants have special type of roots. These roots are found above the ground. That is why we call it aerial roots. These roots we generally find in the rainforest, where there is a stiff competition for the food and sunlight. Okay, so the aerial roots are of different types. The first type of root which we are going to discuss is the prop root. As you can see in this module, it is showing a banyan tree. As you can see in the module, the center part shows the trunk, and around the trunk there are different trunk-like structures which are attached to the ground. So these attachments are not the trunks, they are the prop roots, the roots above the ground. That is why we call them aerial roots. Sometimes a number of roots are produced from the main stem and the branches. They grow vertically downwards and go deep into the soil. They become thick and they look like ropes or pillars. As you can see in the module, they look like ropes or pillars. They are called as prop roots as they prop up the branches and provide support to them. Banyan, screw pine and Indian rubber plant are the examples of the plant with prop roots. So, as you can see in this module, it is clearly visible how the different branches show the roots growing vertically downwards, and these roots, they go deep into the soil. Aerial roots are the roots found above the ground, and they are almost adventitious. How do prop roots help the plant? The prop roots, they grow downward, as we have discussed just now. They grow downward from the main branch, and on reaching the ground, they fix themselves to the soil, and by fixing themselves to the soil, it provides an additional support to the other large branches of the plants, as you can see in the banyan tree. The prop roots allow the banyan tree to provide additional anchorage and support. Anchorage means holding the plant in the same place and providing it support. The circling of the prop roots allows these trees to not only grow taller but also wider. So let me tell you one very interesting fact, that a banyan tree can be around 100 feet wide, that is 30 meters wide. Prop roots are also called as pillar roots. These are adventitious roots as they develop from the large horizontal branches in the trees and hang downwards, and finally it enters into the soil. This gives them pillar-like appearance. When the roots are growing downwards and when it is reaching to the soil, it shows pillar-like appearance. So the prop roots are found in plants like Ficus bengalensis, that is the botanical name of banyan tree, and also it is found in rubber plants and also in corns. So now I suppose it's very clear to everyone that the banyan tree has presence of aerial roots which are produced from the main stem, and the branches, they grow vertically downwards, and when they reach to the soil, they go deep into the soil, and as you can see that they become thick and look like ropes or pillars. Therefore, the name given to these roots is prop roots or pillar roots, and these roots, it provides support to the main plant, main tree. The next type of root is stilt roots. Some plants like sugarcane, wheat and maize, their stems are very weak but they are tall. In such plants, roots arise from the lower nodes of the stem and provide support to the plant. These roots grow downwards and therefore they are called as stilt roots. As you can see in this module, the stilt roots are also adventitious roots which arise from the lower nodes of the stem, and they enter into the soil, and when they enter into the soil, they become strong, and these roots protect the plant against winds. Example is seen in sugarcane and also in maize. So what is the stilt root? Stilt roots are aerial adventitious roots which grow downwards from the basal nodes of the main stem and fix it firmly to the soil. Such supporting roots are found in plants which grow near the banks of the rivers or ponds. So what is the main function of the stilt root? As you can see here in this module, it's very clear how the stilt roots grow. The main function of this type of root is to facilitate the vertical growth of the plant or tree and enhance mechanical stability. It helps to give support and stability to the plant or tree. The other type of root is climbing root. The climbing roots are also called as climbing roots are the adventitious roots that arise from the nodes or internodes in plants having weak stems. As you can see here, these are generally the climbers, where the stem is very weak. It always needs a support for growth. To grow, it needs a support. So these roots help the plants in climbing by penetrating the cracks of the support. Wherever they will find cracks in the support where it is penetrating, it will get support from that cracks and it will grow, because it is helping the plant in proper growth. Like the best example is seen in the money plant. These plants, they may stick firmly to a support by secreting a cementing gummy substance. Sometimes there are certain plants where it produces some cementing gumming substance. Some secretions are there. These secretions, when they come in contact with the support, it makes the roots to come in contact of that support, and it helps to penetrate through the cracks, and finally the plant grows. It is able to climb. As you can see here, there are roots present, and these roots, when they come in contact with the surface, they come in contact with the support, they penetrate through it and they start growing. The fourth type of root is breathing root or nematophores. The mangrove plants have specialized roots called breathing roots or pneumatophores. These roots grow above the ground and therefore they are called as pneumatophores or breathing aerial roots. These breathing or aerial roots have pores which helps it to get oxygen into the tissues and that grows underground. In some plants that grow in marshy or waterlogged areas. As you can see in the module, these trees or the plants, they grow in marshy area where there is waterlogging. So the soil is often covered with salty water and therefore these roots cannot get sufficient amount of oxygen for respiration. Therefore they have this special type of root which is called as breathing root, and this breathing root only helps it to get oxygen in proper amount. In these plants, cone-shaped roots come out of the ground and grow vertically upwards. And these roots have minute pores in them, and these minute pores only helps it to get oxygen, to take oxygen from the atmosphere, and then when they get oxygen, it helps the plants in respiration. So the best example is seen in mangrove plants. As you can see here, very clearly it is visible how the roots of these plants, they grow. They are almost cone shaped. The roots are cone shaped and they come out of the ground and grow vertically upwards. And these roots have pores present in them. What is the use of these pores? The presence of these pores helps it to get oxygen from the atmosphere, and the oxygen which they get from the atmosphere helps the plants in respiration. So the best example is seen in mangrove plants. So with this we finish up this chapter. Let me tell you about the assignment, dear students. Well, this time we have an assignment where you have to collect different types of leaves. So you can collect 5 to 10 different types of leaves. It will be good if you collect 10 different types of leaves. So you will be collecting these leaves collected from your near your house. No need to go out in search of leaf. Don't go to others' house. You need to collect it from your surrounding only. Means the place where you are living. Okay, so you'll be collecting these leaves, and then after collecting these leaves you need to spread the leaves between the folds of newspaper. So what you're going to do with the newspaper, you will take a newspaper, make 4 folds of this newspaper, and in this newspaper between the folds where the fold is present, so here between the folds you will be keeping the leaf. Okay, and here you can keep between the 2 folds, you are keeping 1 leaf. That means 1, 2 and 3. 3 leaves can be kept in this newspaper. So you like this, you will be taking 3-4 papers where you will be keeping you will be spreading the leaves between the folds of the newspaper. Now when you have kept all the leaves in the newspaper folds, what you will be doing, you will place this stack of newspapers, the different newspapers, one layer by layer you will be keeping one over the other, and then you are going to put something heavy over the newspaper. You need to press it with something heavy. You can use a heavy book, or otherwise you can use something else which is heavy, and that can be kept over these stacks of newspaper. Now after this, what you have to do, leave these stacks of newspapers for few days. Let the leaves dry. Then what you have to do, you need to keep changing the newspaper sheets after every 2 days. Okay, don't see the leaves every day. Don't peep into the newspaper. What you will be doing, you will be looking at those leaves after every 2 days. Then when you will be changing the newspaper sheets. So after around 2 weeks, when you have done this process, what you will find that the leaves are dried. Now what you'll be doing after the leaves are dried, you will classify these leaves on the basis of the type of leaf, the shape of the leaf and the margins which are present over the leaves. And these dried leaves you will be pasting on in your scrapbook. This scrapbook can be made either with the A4 size sheets. If it is available in your house, you can use that A4 size paper sheets, or otherwise you can use the old copies. The sheets may be left in those copies, so you can take out those sheets of the old copy and you can make a new copy. You can cover that copy, you can decorate that copy, and if you have interleaf copy, you can use that copy as well. Otherwise you can use test copy. If you are left with any test copy of the previous year, you can use that test copy also. So you can make a scrapbook type of file, and you can paste the dried leaves over it, and then you will describe about it. You will be classifying these leaves on the basis of its type, shape and margin. Okay. So it's not necessary that you will be going to the shop and you will be getting different items for making your assignment. Try doing your assignment with the things which are available at home. Try to make something innovative with what is there at your home. Okay. So you can use interleaf copy also. I suppose last session you were using interleaf copy for so many subjects. You were using it for general science, you were using it for EVS as well. So definitely few pages must be left in that, and I think only 10 to 12 pages are required. So that many pages you can take out from the old copy and you can make a new copy by putting a cover over it. It's not necessary that it will have a hard cover only. You can make the cover with the paper itself. So you can use that pages and then you can make a new copy with it. You can decorate that copy and decorate with your hand. Don't use the decorative items from the shops. Handmade things should be used. You can decorate by making certain drawings which are appropriate according to the subject. Okay, so you can make a flower over it, you can make certain designs, you can color it. Try to make it beautiful, innovative. Okay, give time for it. You have enough time for making this assignment. So I suppose that you have understood what is to be done with the assignment, and you will be making a better assignment because you will be getting marks for this assignment work which you do. Okay. For chemistry also you can use interleaf copy, or otherwise you can use test copy type copy as per the availability at home. No need to buy anything new from the shop. Use the things which are available at home and try finishing your assignment. Thank you.